David, Uriah, and Bathsheba. In the twilight of a summer evening, King David stood on the rooftop of his grand palace, gazing out over the city of Jerusalem. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting a golden hue over the landscape. As he surveyed his kingdom, his eyes fell upon a woman bathing on a nearby rooftop. Her beauty was captivating. Her name was Bathsheba, the wife of Uriah the Hittite, a loyal soldier in David's army. A tempest stirred within David. He was a king, powerful and respected, yet his heart raced with forbidden desire. Bathsheba's innocence and grace ignited a fire in him, one that threatened to consume his better judgment. Despite knowing Uriah's loyalty and the sacred bond of marriage, David could not look away. Temptation whispered in his ear, urging him to act. Unable to resist, David sent a messenger to fetch Bathsheba. When she arrived, the air crackled with tension. Bathsheba's heart raced, a mixture of curiosity and apprehension swirling within her. David welcomed her, offering kindness that masked the darkness of his intentions. Moments of passion ensued, and in the aftermath, Bathsheba returned home, her mind swirling with confusion. Days later, Bathsheba discovered she was pregnant. Panic gripped her heart. She knew she must tell David the truth. Meanwhile, David, unaware of the consequences of his actions, was thrown into a whirlwind of fear when he learned of Bathsheba's pregnancy. He realized he had to conceal his sin. Desperate to cover his tracks, David called Uriah back from the battlefield, hoping to trick him into spending the night with Bathsheba, thereby masking his betrayal. Uriah returned, weary yet proud of his service to the king. David feasted and drank with him, attempting to lower his guard. But Uriah, steadfast and loyal, refused to indulge in comforts while his comrades fought bravely in battle. Frustration clawed at David as he realized Uriah would not succumb to his manipulation. In a moment of dark desperation, he penned a letter to Joab, his commander, sealing Uriah's fate. Unbeknownst to Uriah, he delivered his own death warrant back to the battlefield. On the front lines, Uriah fought valiantly, unaware of the treachery that surrounded him. David had instructed Joab to place Uriah at the forefront of the battle, where the fighting was fiercest. The sounds of clashing swords and cries of warriors filled the air as Uriah faced his fate with bravery. News soon arrived that Uriah had been killed in battle. David feigned sorrow, masking the relief that flickered in his eyes. He had escaped the consequences of his actions, or so he thought. The weight of betrayal hung heavy in the air, a secret that would not remain hidden. God, seeing the darkness of David's heart, sent Nathan, a prophet, to confront the king. Nathan told David a parable. There were two men in a city, one rich and one poor. The rich man had many flocks and herds, while the poor man had only one little ewe lamb, which he loved dearly. When a traveler came to visit the rich man, instead of taking one of his own animals to prepare a meal, the rich man took the poor man's lamb and served it to his guest. Upon hearing the story, David was outraged. He declared that the rich man deserved to die and should repay the poor man fourfold for his cruelty. David's judgment. Nathan then revealed the true meaning of the parable. David was the rich man. David had taken Bathsheba, Uriah's beloved wife, and then arranged for Uriah's death to cover up his sin. Nathan pronounced God's judgment on David. 1. The sword would never depart from David's house, signifying that violence and strife would plague his family. 2. God would raise up evil against David from within his own household. This came to pass when his son Absalom rebelled. 3. His wives would be publicly humiliated. This also happened when Absalom took over Jerusalem and slept with David's concubines in public. 4. The child born to Bathsheba would die. David's repentance, and David immediately recognized the gravity of his sin and confessed, saying, "I have sinned against the Lord." Nathan assured him that God had forgiven him and that he would not die for his sin. However, the consequences of his actions would still unfold, including the death of his newborn. David's response to this judgment was marked by deep sorrow. He fasted and prayed for the life of the child, but after 7 days the child died. When the child passed, David accepted God's will, cleaned himself, worshiped the Lord, and resumed his duties as king. Though David was forgiven, the repercussions of his sin were felt throughout the rest of his life. Family strife. His son Amnon raped his half-sister Tamar, which led to Absalom killing Amnon in revenge. Absalom's rebellion. Absalom eventually rose in rebellion against David, forcing David to flee from Jerusalem. Although David was restored to the throne, the rebellion ended tragically with Absalom's death. As foretold, Absalom slept with David's concubines in a tent on the palace roof for all to see. David suffered deeply from the loss of his children and the turmoil in his family. Despite these consequences, David remained a man after God's own heart, Acts 13:22, because of his sincere repentance and reliance on God throughout his life. After Bathsheba's first child died, David and Bathsheba had another son, Solomon, who would go on to become king and be known for his wisdom and leadership. Through sorrow and regret, David sought redemption, recognizing the depth of his failures. His story became a powerful reminder of the fragility of human nature, a tale woven with themes of power, betrayal, and the enduring search for forgiveness.